Oh, sorry, I didn't see you there. I'm back. After a very long time. Just over a year, actually. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, since my last upload, and in that time, the Avengers have undone the events that's happening, but never mind that, you know. Bit of a minor issue. But anyway, I'm here today, and I'm going to talk to you about Black Widow. Now, Black Widow is due to come out in November. It was due to come out in May, but that got postponed because of you-know-what. That gives us 6 months to ponder what might happen in the film. And I'm going to look at the comic book oranges of the character. Oranges? Origins, not oranges. It's going to be a long video. As well as mentioning quite a few fan theories. Now, Black Widow stars Scarlett Johansson, good grief, I nearly forgot her name then, as Black Widow, obviously. David Harbour, I think he's the guy from Stranger Things, although I've never seen the series, forgive me. He stars as Red Guardian. Florence Pugh stars as Yelena Belova. Rachel Weisz, or Wise, whatever you want to call her, stars as Melina Vostokov, also known as Iron Maiden in the comics. Now, the movie is due to take place in between the events of Civil War and Infinity War, so this is set in the past. So for any of you hoping and wondering that we're going to, you know, have a movie set after Endgame, where Natasha is still alive, I'm sorry, but that's not going to happen. This is set in the past. Natasha's still dead. Or is she? Now, if you remember back what seems like a long time ago, at the end of Civil War, Captain America breaks them out of that high-tech superhero prison facility in the middle of wherever it was, I can't remember, in the middle of the sea somewhere. And there are a good handful of superheroes on the run from Thunderbolt Ross, who's trying to get these heroes to sign up to the Sokovia Accords, to keep all the superheroes in check so that they can get used only when and only the government decides. Now, Natasha obviously helped Captain America escape, which means, although initially she was on Iron Man's side and signed up to the Accords, because she helped a fugitive, she is now on the run as well. I think there's a good chance the film will pick up from kind of where Civil War left off. There's a very high chance, exceedingly high chance, that the film will be discovering a lot of Black Widow's past and making reference, and well, not even reference, hopefully going into detail as to what the red on her ledger is that she so often mentions. Now, we all know the most important thing that could possibly happen in this film, and that all Marvel fans want to know and want clarity over, is what on earth happened in Budapest?
Just like Budapest all over again!
You and I remember Budapest very differently.
No, stop it.
Tell me!
Enough of the in-jokes. We should have known by now, we should have known by the second Avengers film, what happened in Budapest. All that keeps happening is every Avengers film, Budapest, Budapest. Now, during the film, we are going to get frequent references to, and not only references, we're going to see what the Red Room is. Now, in the comics, the Red Room was a Cold War program designed by the Russians to train the deadliest female spies. And it was inspired by their male version, Bucky Barnes, aka the Winter Soldier, Captain America's BFF. Now, whilst discovering this, it made me think back to Civil War and wonder about that scene between Natasha and Bucky Barnes. Now, in it, Natasha says to Bucky, while she's effectively being choked out by him,
"You should at least recognize me."
Now, this just made me wonder whether, obviously in the comics, they probably knew each other, but in the films, there's no direct, obvious nod that they've actually met each other in the past. But why would she say that to him? I think whilst Natasha was being trained, she probably bumped into Bucky Barnes during his own kind of assassination program, you know, the brainwashing thing. You know, they probably bumped into each other on the way out of the Red Room. I don't know what the male version is called, if that's the Red Room. It's probably not. It's probably called the Blue Room or something. Now, whether that scene in Civil War was just a homage to the comics and they haven't actually met in the MCU in the past, who knows? But chances are we're not going to see Bucky Barnes in this film. Not that we're aware of, unless it's one of those cheeky little hidden secrets that they've kept quiet. And funnily enough, in the comics, those two actually have love interest. Mind you, that's not necessarily a surprise. It seems like everyone in the comics has at some point fallen in love with Natasha Romanoff. It appears that Natasha has somewhat of a surrogate family here. She calls Yelena sister in the trailer, with David Harbour's character Alexei Shostakov, the real life name of Red Guardian, mentioning Rachel Weisz's character in the context of mother to Natasha.
Here's what's gonna happen.
Natasha, don't slouch.
I'm not slouching.
You're going to get a back punch.
Listen to your mother.
Oh my God, this...
Up.
All right, enough, all of you.
You didn't say anything. That's not fair.
Now in the comics, Yelena Belova actually pretty much detests Black Widow. They're seen as rivals. Yelena looks up to Natasha in a certain kind of way because she wants to be like her, because she's a very accomplished assassin, but she wants to better her. And funnily enough, in the comics also, Milena Vostokov, known as Iron Maiden I believe in the comics too, also dislikes Natasha. And she even tries killing her while she's a freelance agent. Now, some Alexei Shostakov / Red Guardian comic book facts for you. Red Guardian was actually married to Natasha Romanoff, and their marriage was arranged by the KGB, unknown to Natasha. The KGB then wanted to manipulate Natasha, and so they faked Alexei's death, which embedded Natasha further into the Red Room Academy. Shostakov, however, was alive and was recruited into the KGB himself. Thus was born the Red Guardian, the communist world's answer to Captain America. Now, the greatest mystery behind this film is who is Taskmaster. Taskmaster's character has photographic sensors? Photographic reflexes, that's it. Photographic reflexes, which means he can copy and replicate someone else's movement and acrobatics to an absolute T with basically no practice whatsoever. However, he cannot replicate anything that requires superhuman ability, such as things like Thor does, basically, or Hulk. He can't get big like Hulk. Most fascinatingly, he can predict attacks from his enemies, and because of this, he can also notice someone who's in disguise because of his ability to recognise their body language. So this whole package of studying someone and how they walk and just their whole physical movement, and he knows exactly what they're going to do. So there's no point putting a little cloak over yourself or a little hoodie. No point to that. He studied you, and yeah, you're going to have to do a lot better than that. One of the most common theories going around from fans and, well, yeah, just fans basically, people think Yelena Belova actually might be Taskmaster. And you can kind of see why. This is plausible. As I said in the comics, she's kind of obsessed with her, and she's always wanting to better her. So will we get that twist? Really, for that to work, there has to be a big, grand betrayal. And I'm kind of expecting that in this film. This film is more along the style of James Bond, and it's a spy film, so you can't really have a great spy film without betrayal at some point. Why would she mention in Avengers Endgame that she had nothing before she had the Avengers? You'd still mention them, you'd just mention it with the caveat that they were dead? Surely something's gonna happen that betrays her. Some people have speculated whether we might get Hawkeye in this film. Again, for the same reasons I don't think we'll get Bucky Barnes, I also don't think we'll realistically get Hawkeye in the film. But I can see why people are speculating that. Some people have even gone as far as to speculate that what if Taskmaster is actually Hawkeye? I mean, that would blow my mind. And I actually think it's possible. It's not likely, a bit far-fetched, but you could see how they could make it work. For that to work, he would have to be being coerced by Thunderbolt Ross, Agent Ross, and says you can't go back to your family maybe until you get Natasha or kill her.
All right, you're all grown up, you got a wife and kids. I don't understand, why didn't you think about them before you chose the wrong side?
So there's an opportunity for quite an epic moment where Hawkeye actually turns his back on Ross as Taskmaster and starts helping Natasha, breaks her free from family imposters. Most likely, Taskmaster will actually be the actor O.T. Faye Benley. I apologise, I haven't seen him in anything else. While they announced Black Widow, he was on stage with Scarlett Johansson and all the main characters of the film, so he's got to have an important part. But yet he isn't seen in any of these trailers. The character he's playing, Rick Mason, isn't seen in any of the trailers. So, yeah. It looks likely that Rick Mason, a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, will actually be Taskmaster. For the success of the franchise, they need to introduce new characters, and just revealing a villain as actually somebody else we already knew, as exciting and as shocking as that might be, it's probably not good for the franchise in the long run. Now, one of the golden nuggets that I came across while researching the comic book origins was that when Hydra are taking over the United States, Natasha Romanoff fronts the fight against an evil Captain America, believe it or not, and tragically she is killed whilst battling him. Later, after Hydra falls, she finds herself back at the Red Room, but then suddenly realises she's actually now a clone, albeit with her memories of her death still intact. They could do something with that. It would be an awesome plot twist if we found out that Natasha had actually been cloned. Through other YouTube videos I've watched and other theories I've seen, some people have added a guess that Yelena Belova and Natasha might actually do a face swap. Now, if you freeze the screen over a particular moment in the trailer, you notice that there's a slight line around Yelena Belova's face. Could it be Natasha in Endgame is actually Yelena and the real Natasha is still out there? That would be one hell of a plot twist, and it would probably be a very unpopular one. Popular for some people because Natasha would still be alive, but at the same time, it kind of cheapens the death from Endgame. I'm seriously hoping that's not the case. It would be a serious mic drop and a big risk for Marvel to turn around and say, oh, actually, you know, she didn't die in Endgame, her sister died. It also wouldn't make a lot of sense. Why would Yelena do that? Why would Yelena pretend to be Natasha unless she was implanted with Natasha's memories and brainwashed herself into thinking she was Natasha and she was jumping off that cliff and sacrificing herself as Natasha, even though she's not Natasha. It's seriously messed up. It's a cool theory, but it's not likely, and also it's probably not a wise idea. The great thing about Marvel is, when you watch a trailer, you don't really know how much of it is true and how much of it is decoys. We know that they like to put things in the trailers that then later don't end up in the film whatsoever. They love throwing us off the scent, and I hope they've done the same here. This is the beauty of a Marvel trailer, that even when they reveal quite a lot of the film, they make you think it's heading in one direction, but once you get to the movie, it's not what you thought it was. A bit like Captain Marvel, how the Skrulls ended up becoming the good guys. One thing I've noticed while watching all the trailers, all three of them, they don't release many new clips in any of the trailers. All the trailers feature pretty much the same bits of footage, which makes me think, are they hiding something? A lot of the footage from each three trailers is just repeated. So, we're gonna have to wait until November to see this. It's not too far away when you think about it, and hopefully by then cinemas will be open once more. Until then, guys, and until my next video, which hopefully won't be in another year's time. Hopefully I'll have come up with something by then. Stay safe. I'll see you next time.